This happened just a few weeks ago. I had just turned 32 and started working night shifts at a local hospital. The pediatrics ward was familiar to me. The dim lights and the buzz of machines were oddly comforting. I thought it would be a good change after caring for my parents for so long, but the nights felt different. On my second night alone, I started to hear giggles. They came from the empty playroom down the hall. At first, I thought it was my mind playing tricks. Maybe it was just the late hour. I didn't want to go down there. The laughter got louder in the following nights. I could hear it clearer now. I tried to convince myself it was just echoes from the floor above. Each time I heard the laughter, I felt uneasy. The silence of the night seemed to wrap around me. Shadows drifted along the edges of my vision. I would turn quickly, but I found nothing, just a quiet hallway. My heart raced. I checked on the kids in their rooms. They were all asleep, their tiny faces relaxed. I felt a little better. I had my job to focus on, but the feeling of unease lingered. My mind grew heavy with fatigue. Soon, I started to hear whispers. They filled the hall, soft and gentle. I felt cold each time I heard them. I never said a word to anyone. Who would believe me? Then, one night, the footsteps started. I had just finished organizing supplies when I heard them. They were slow and careful, coming from the direction of the playroom. I turned my head quickly and saw nothing, just the empty hallway stretching before me. I stood there. My pulse was loud in my ears. That's when I saw her, a fleeting shadow. She stood there, looking right at me. I wanted to ask if she needed help, but I couldn't speak. I felt frozen. Then the laughter filled the air again, joyful and haunting. I didn't know what to do. I turned to run, but I heard her voice clearly whisper, "Emma, come play with us." I ran as fast as I could, my heart pounding in my chest. I reached the nurse's station. I didn't look back. I wasn't sure if I had imagined it all. When I grabbed the door to the station, my hand shook hard. I finally spoke aloud. "Who are you?" I heard her giggle one last time, and it chilled my bones. I've never felt so alone. After that night, I couldn't shake the feeling. I went home and sleep evaded me. I kept asking myself if I really heard what I thought I did. Every night after, I would sit in the nurse's station, jumping at every small sound. Each lingering laugh echoed in my mind. I still work those night shifts. I keep hearing whispers and laughter. I pull myself together and pretend everything's normal, but the shadows feel closer now, and I'm terrified I'm not alone anymore. Every night felt heavier than the last. I was becoming a shell of myself, haunted by giggles and whispers echoing through the hospital corridors. My nights blurred into one long sequence of terror. I could hardly focus on my job anymore. Then, the third week rolled around, and things changed. On this particular night, the air felt electric. As I walked to the nurse's station, I noticed the playroom door was slightly ajar. A strange instinct compelled me to peek inside. I couldn't help it. Maybe I would find an explanation. As I inched the door open, the light from the hallway spilled into the room. It was filled with shadows, and everything was eerily quiet. The toys lay scattered around, as if children had just run out. My heart raced, and adrenaline pumped through my veins. I told myself I was just being paranoid. When I stepped into the playroom, the door creaked behind me as it swung open wider. That sound jolted me. I turned quickly. No one was there. I swallowed hard and took a shaky breath. Just as I was about to turn back, I noticed something on the floor. It looked like a drawing. I knelt down and picked it up. The crayon colors were bright and cheerful, yet the scene it depicted felt unsettling. There was a big sun, green grass, and in the middle I recognized familiar shapes. Children, their hands intertwined and faint outlines of figures surrounding them. I felt goosebumps crawl up my arms. I turned it over, hoping to find a date or a name, but instead there was something else. Emma, come out and play, was written in what looked like childlike handwriting. My throat tightened. My name. What the hell? I whispered, feeling lightheaded. I glanced around the room, half expecting to see the children from the drawing standing right in front of me. I held the paper tight, feeling it grow warm in my hand. I needed to leave. But then the whispers resumed, softly at first, like a gentle breeze brushing past my ear. Emma, come play. It was melodic and inviting, but there was an unsettling edge. I turned toward the sound and noticed a single red balloon floating in the corner of the room, barely moving. My pulse quickened. Balloons were rarely used in a ward anymore. I cautiously approached it, my mind racing. As I reached for it, the laughter returned, louder this time. Emma, come play with us. The words echoed in harmony, almost like a haunting chant. Bracing myself, I twisted my body to make a run for the door, adrenaline seeping into my limbs. But before I could escape, the lights in the room flickered menacingly. Everything grew dark. Panic set in. In the pitch black, I felt something brush against my arm, cold and clammy. I squeezed my eyes shut, paralyzed with fear. I tried to scream, but nothing came out. That's when I heard it, the whisper again, closer this time. Join us, Emma. Then the lights flickered back on. I turned to see nothing but the empty playroom, yet the laughter lingered, echoing off the walls. I darted out of the room, heart racing. Something was terribly wrong. The whispers pulled at me again, and I knew I had to figure this out before it consumed me. I ran for the nurse's station, but the fear gripped tightly around me. This wasn't over. Somehow, they wanted me, and I was about to find out exactly why. My heart was pounding as I barreled down the corridor toward the nurse's station. I tried to convince myself it was just my imagination running wild. But the whispers persisted in my mind, filling every corner of my thoughts. Join us, Emma. When I reached the station, I found Lily, my fellow nurse, filling out paperwork. She looked up, surprised to see me so frazzled. Emma, are you okay? You look like you've seen a ghost. I think I heard something in the playroom. My voice shook, and Lily frowned. Something? What do you mean? The kids. I found a drawing with my name on it. The whispers are back, I said, breathless. Lily's eyes narrowed. Whispers? You can't let your mind play tricks on you. You've been under a lot of stress these past few weeks. I shook my head. No, Lily, I'm serious. It felt real. I heard laughter. It was so loud. She hesitated, glancing to the side as if she could feel the ghostly echoes too. Okay, let's investigate together. But if you're just working yourself up... Fine, I don't care, I interrupted. Just take me to the playroom. As we walked back down the hall, the silence was deafening. Each step made me acutely aware of the heaviness in the air. I wanted to scream, to shout that I was done with all of this. When we reached the playroom, I hesitated. Part of me wanted to run, but I knew I couldn't let fear win. This was not just about me anymore. Lily pushed the door open wider. See? It's empty. I stepped inside, scanning the room. The sunlight filtered through the window, casting long shadows across the floor. But everything felt skewed, almost unnatural. The drawing was still crumpled in my hand, but now I noticed something else. The balloon hovered in the corner, defying logic, unmoving and still. Do you see that? I said, pointing. Lily squinted. What's so special about a balloon? It shouldn't be here, I snapped. Balloons aren't allowed. They could pop and scare the kids. Suddenly the light flickered again, and I felt the temperature drop. Emma, come out and play, echoed through the room, chilling my bones. Lily looked frightened. That's enough. I think we should go. Wait, I insisted, pulling her back. Something is wrong. We can't leave yet." As I stepped closer to the balloon, the whispers crescendoed into a chaotic symphony, drowning out logic. "Emma, join us." Before I could grasp what was happening, the shadows in the room twisted, a childlike apparition with hollow eyes looking directly at me. "Play with us, Emma." I stumbled back, but Lily grabbed my arm, her grip firm. "We need to get out now!" We bolted for the door, but it slammed shut before we could reach it. My mind raced. The playful melody turned sinister, and as panic set in, I realized this was more than just fear. There was intent behind those whispers, those calls. Just then, the laughter morphed into cries, angry cries, and I understood. These children weren't just playing, they were trapped. Lily and I were not alone. "Emma, help us!" My breath caught. This nightmare was just beginning. I tried to yank the door open, but it wouldn't budge. Panic rose as the whispers grew louder, filling the air with a haunting energy. "Emma, help us!" echoed again, and I felt as if the walls themselves were closing in. "Don't move!" Lily shouted. She pulled me deeper into the room, away from the door. "We should find a window." "No, we can't just run," I insisted. "They need us." The shadows pulsated around us, and I could see the childlike figure now flickering between forms. One moment it was a girl with pigtails, the next a boy with a red shirt. Their faces were twisted with sadness, and I felt an overwhelming urge to comfort them, to help them find peace. "Emma," Lily said sharply, her eyes fierce. "Think, we need a plan." I took a shuddering breath. Okay. What if we talk to them?" Lily's eyes widened. "Are you insane? They're not just kids anymore. There's something else." But I couldn't ignore their cries. Something deep inside me said they were not malicious. They were desperate. "Please," I called out, my voice shaking. "We want to help you. How can we help?" The shadows paused. For a brief moment, it was quiet. Then the air trembled, and the girl's face became clearer, her hollow eyes locking onto mine. "Find our toys. They keep us here." My heart sank as I realized the connection. The toys. The countless dolls and stuffed animals that littered the playroom. Each one must have held a piece of their spirits, frozen in time. "Where?" Lily demanded. "Where do we find them?" The shadows swirled, directing my gaze toward the large, dusty cabinet against the wall. "In the dark," the boy whispered, his voice echoing with sorrow. "We cannot leave without them." Lily glanced at me, her expression torn. "This is risky, Emma. What if something happens?" But I felt a pull. The toys weren't just toys. They were keys to their freedom. "We have to, Lily. We can't leave them like this." Before she could protest, I sprinted across the room toward the cabinet. I felt the whispers rush against me, urging me forward. I heaved the cabinet doors open, a cloud of dust rising to greet me. Inside were piles of old toys, some decades old, some frayed and broken. As I sifted through the pile, I felt a chill run up my spine. There was something off about the toys. They seemed to watch me. I dug deeper until my fingers brushed against something cold and smooth. That's when I saw it, a small music box adorned with delicate carvings. The moment I touched it, the whispers transformed into laughter. "Emma!" Lily gasped. "What's happening?" I opened the box, not even knowing why I felt compelled to. A sweet, haunting melody filled the air, and suddenly the shadows surged around me, brighter now. The children's faces melted into contentment as they reached out to the music. But then, I felt it, a powerful pull, as if the shadows were trying to drag me into some dark abyss. "Emma, let it go!" Lily screamed, but the music held me captive, resonating with a force I couldn't resist. I turned back to Lily, desperate. "Help me!" At that moment, I understood. The music box was the key, But I was trapped too. All at once, the room went dark, plunging us into silence. My heart raced as I felt the cold shadows wrap around me, and I realized we were about to face whatever haunted this place head-on. The whispers had changed again. Now they were furious. "Stay with us." Then I knew. This was just the beginning. The darkness felt so thick I could hardly breathe. The music box continued its haunting melody, swirling around us like a fog, and I strained to hear anything over the increasing intensity of the whispers. My heart pounded in my chest as if it was trying to escape this shadowy prison. "Emma!" Lily's voice cut through the chaos, and I focused on her. "The music! It's making them stronger!" I tried to move away from the box, but my feet felt rooted to the ground. A part of me wanted to obey the music, to surrender to whatever it promised, but the other part, my rational side, screamed for freedom. "Please," I begged, "you don't have to stay here." The shadows twisted around me, tightening like a noose. "Join us," the voices hissed. I shut my eyes to block them out. "No, we're not giving in!" Suddenly, the room came alive with blinding light. I squinted, feeling warmth rush over me, cutting through the cold dread. The flickering, childlike figures floated closer, their expressions shifting from sadness to determination. They seemed to share a connection, a bond forged in pain and longing. "Find the other toys!" the girl with pigtails shouted. "They hold the rest of us!" I was flooded with a new sense of urgency. "Lily, we need to find the rest!" I turned to her, but she suddenly staggered back, her face pale. "I can't. It's too much," she gasped. "Lily, please, if we don't help them, they'll be trapped forever. We can't abandon them now." Her dark eyes searched mine, uncertainty flickering in them. I grabbed her hand, and for a moment I felt her resistance fade away. "Okay, but we need to hurry," she whispered. Together, we turned back to the cabinet. As we rummaged through the clutter of toys, I noticed something in the far corner. Another box, smaller and plain, tucked behind a cracked dollhouse. I reached for it, brushing away cobwebs. When I opened it, I found small, worn toys inside. An old bear with one ear missing, a spinning top, and a little soldier. The moment I lifted the soldier, a violent gust of wind whipped through the room, sending papers and dust swirling around us. "Emma!" Lily screamed. The shadows shrieked in rage, pulling at my limbs, trying to drag me down. "Stay with us!" they cried, and their voices morphed into anguished pleas. "No!" I shouted back, clenching the soldier tighter. "Lily, I found this earlier!" Lily yelled, racing back to me with a broken doll. "Maybe they want this too." As we stood together, holding the toys, the shadows paused, hesitating. The air filled with a suffocating tension. The children's faces shifted again, confusion mingled with hope. "Freedom," the boy whispered. "What do we do?" I whispered, panic surging again. "Give it to them," Lily urged. "They want their toys back." Our hands trembled as we reached out with the toys. I closed my eyes, forcing all my fear away. "Here, we want to help you." The moment our offerings left our palms, the toys glowed brightly, and the whispers exploded into a cacophony of joy and relief. The shadows began to recede, swirling away like mist in the morning sun. But just as I thought we had won, I felt a sharp pull at my ankle. Something had latched onto me, something dark and twisted. I opened my eyes and gasped. A shadowy figure burst from the abyss, towering over us. Its hollow eyes glinted with malice, and in an instant I knew we were not alone. And just like that, my stomach dropped. This wasn't over. It was only getting started. The figure loomed above us, its shape shifting like smoke, flickering in and out of focus. My heart raced. "Lily!" I called, but my voice wavered, lost in the volatile air filled with whispers. "Emma, what is that?" she gasped, her wide eyes darting to the darkness. "Stay back!" I shouted, instinctively putting myself between the shadow and her. The toy soldier felt heavy in my hand, but it also felt like our only defense. The shadow twisted, bringing forth a roar that echoed, vibrating through the floor. "You seek to take what is ours. You cannot save them!" "Why not?" I yelled, trying to keep my voice steady. "They deserve to be free!" The shadow lunged forward, and in that split second, I realized it had no solid form, like smoke trying to grasp onto reality. My instincts kicked in. "Lily, we have to go, now!" We turned, sprinting toward the nearest door, but it was locked. Panic surged through me as I looked around for another way. The walls of the room seemed to close in, shadows swirling in anticipation. "Over there!" Lily shouted, pointing to a small window. It was cramped, but it was our only hope. I nodded, and together we rushed towards it. As we pulled ourselves up, the shadow recoiled, letting out a furious howl. "You will pay for this!" The sound sent ice shooting up my spine. Just as we squeezed through the window, something cold brushed against my leg, a desperate talon trying to drag me back. I kicked out reflexively, feeling momentary relief as I broke free. The air outside felt impossibly fresh, but we couldn't rest yet. We landed in a small, overgrown garden, tangled weeds and forgotten flowers all around us. Breathing heavily, I glanced back at the window. The shadow was still there, peering out at us, its eyes glowing with rage. "What do we do now?" Lily whispered, trembling beside me. "Find the other toys," I said, thinking back to what the children had told us. "There must be more. If we can set them free, maybe this thing will lose its power." As we hurried through the garden, I spotted a glimmer near a broken swing set. I rushed over, digging through the dirt. My fingers brushed against something smooth, a small music box, ornate and still. I hesitated, remembering how the last one had twisted everything around us. "Emma, what is it?" Lily asked, peering over my shoulder. "It's another music box," I replied, dread pooling in my gut. "Do we dare open it?" Before I could think, the whispers started again, stronger this time, weaving through the air. "Open it! Release us!" With shaking hands, I lifted the lid. In that moment, everything changed. The air around us thickened, vibrating with expectation. That's when I realized the voices were different, brighter, not just shadows anymore. Suddenly, a blinding light erupted from the box, enveloping us both. "Emma! Lily!" the voices sang, but they were no longer pleading, they were exultant. And just like that, I knew we had crossed a line. We were either saving ourselves or about to summon something ancient and terrible. The shadows were not finished with us. In the back of my mind, I heard the warning whispers. "You've awakened something else." The fear crawled back, and I knew the night was far from over. The light swallowed us whole, and I felt us being pulled into a swirl of colors and sounds. The music box faded from view, but the voices grew louder, echoing with a strange sort of joy. I was disoriented, as if I was spinning in a dream, floating somewhere between waking and sleeping. "Emma, what's happening?" Lily's voice broke through, shaky as the world tilted around us. I don't know," I managed to shout. The brilliant light flickered, and suddenly we were back in the garden. But everything was different. The broken swing set looked new, the flowers vibrant and lush, as if time had reversed itself somehow. I took a cautious step forward. The air felt thick yet refreshing, almost alive. "Is it gone?" I asked, glancing anxiously. The whispering voices floated through the garden, this time in a melody that felt welcoming. "Home. Free. they sang, and my heart skipped. Had we really done it? Had we freed them? Suddenly, the garden darkened. Shadows danced at the edges, creeping closer, and the joyful song twisted into a mournful wail. "You should not have opened it." It was the same voice from before, but now it was laced with panic. "No, stay back!" I shouted again, stepping in front of Lily once more, clutching the toy soldier like a lifebuoy. My stomach nodded. The joyous shadows were fading, replaced by something far more sinister. "I don't want to find out what happens next," Lily whispered, her eyes darting around the perimeter of our refuge. "Neither do I," I replied, my pulse racing again. "But we can't let it take those toys back. They've waited too long." I glanced at the music box still glowing faintly in my peripheral. "We need to find a way to use it. There has to be a reason we opened it." The shadows pressed closer, drawing energy from the thickening darkness. I could almost see their malevolent shapes within the blackness, weaving together like a tapestry of despair. And with every passing second, their whispers grew sharper. "You awakened us, and now you must pay the price." "Why did you bring us here?" I shouted, trying to assert some power over the encroaching darkness. I wasn't sure if my words held any weight, but I had to try. "Your light is our fate," the voices echoed, each syllable like nails on wood. "Give us your will, and we will save your friends." "No!" I shook my head defiantly. "We'll not trade our lives for theirs." Just as the shadows lashed out, I spotted something moving in the corner of my vision. My heart raced again as I turned. There, peeking through the flowers, was a small figure. That's when I saw it, a toy soldier, unlike any I'd ever seen. Its eyes glowed with determination, waiting, watching. The air shifted around us, thickening as the whispers grew more insistent. The shadows paused, drawn to this new presence. "Emma, we have to go!" Lily tugged my sleeve, panic rising in her voice. But I couldn't tear my gaze away from the toy. It felt important, almost like it held the answers we needed. And then I heard it, another sound, a gentle chime, distant yet clear. It was coming from the music box. I took a deep breath, steeling myself as I approached the toy soldier. It stood proud and defiant, its small stance exuding strength. In that moment, I felt an odd connection to it, like it was trying to communicate something vital. "Emma, please!" Lily pulled me back, her voice urgent. "We need to find a way out of here." But the music box chimed again. The sound felt almost like a heartbeat, thudding gently in the air, echoing against the growing darkness. My instincts screamed at me to listen, to do something before the shadows overwhelmed us. "Hold on." I stepped just a bit closer, and suddenly the figure spoke. "Only together can you face the darkness," it said, its voice a comforting whisper in the chaos. "You must awaken the truth." "What truth?" I breathed, confusion mixing with curiosity. Before the soldier could respond, the shadows screeched, their voices overlapping and boiling with rage. "You cannot trust it. We will take you. We will take everything." The air crackled around us as fear clawed at my throat. I glanced at Lily. Her look of desperation tore at me, but the soldier's presence felt steady. I poked at the toy in my hand, the one I had found at the music box's base. The soldier watched me, its golden eyes shimmering. I realized it wasn't just a toy, it was a guardian, a protector. "I won't let you down," I murmured, more to myself than to anyone else. Then the music box chimed again, and this time I felt a pulse of energy surge through me. I reached for it, and the shadows recoiled, whispers turning into howls. "Stop! Don't touch it!" "I have to!" I blurted out. With trembling fingers, I opened the lid of the music box. The melody changed, morphing into something hauntingly beautiful. A warm light spilled from within, illuminating the garden and pushing back the dark. Lily gasped, stepping closer to the glow. "Emma, it's working!" But the shadows were relentless, twisting in on themselves and reforming, their forms growing more grotesque. "You meddle in forces you do not comprehend," they screamed. "You cannot control what you have awakened." The soldier leapt from my hand, landing firmly on a flower bed. "Join me," it commanded. "Channel the light within you." I felt it, a surge of warmth deep in my chest. "Together, Lily," I said, reaching for her. "We can fight this." She nodded, eyes wide but determined. We both turned toward the flickering shadows. "You chose our fate, and we can change it." As we raised our hands, the music surged, and the light became blinding. The shadows writhed, twisting back, their howls merging into an angry cacophony. "No, this can't be!" Suddenly, everything went quiet. Just as it seemed the light would conquer, the soldier's voice pierced through the chaos. "Not yet! There's still a choice to be made!" Before I could process what it meant, the garden around us shifted again. The ground trembled, and then the shadows lunged forward, this time more violently, as if they were desperate to reclaim the dark. I felt the weight of our choice settle on my shoulders. I had to decide quickly. What would happen if we gave in? What if we refused? The stakes were higher than ever, and the darkness wasn't done with us yet. "What do we do now?" I cried, panic flooding back. "You have to trust the truth within," the soldier urged, but I wasn't sure if I understood what that meant, and time was running out. The shadows surged, almost like a storm crashing against us. Panic bubbled inside me, but the soldier's orders anchored my mind. "Trust the truth within!" What did that even mean? I glanced at Lily, her mouth drawn tight in uncertainty, but there was a flicker of conviction in her eyes. "We have to push through!" she called, voice breaking through the chaos. I nodded, feeling the warmth settle in my midsection again. It was a strange mix of fear and courage. As the shadows twisted and twisted, I focused on the light in the music box. It pulsed like a beacon, a promise of hope amidst the encroaching darkness. "Okay," I whispered, feeling a sudden clarity. I think it's about more than just us. We have to connect with that light." "Together, Emma!" Lily shouted, and I marveled at the determination in her voice. With that, we raised our hands, channeling every emotion we felt into the music box. The air filled with sound, a mystical crescendo emanating from the glowing box. The musical notes coiled around us, threading with the light. The shadows roared, their dark forms undulating in response to our growing strength. But then, just as I thought we had the upper hand, I saw a flicker in the darkness. Something shifted, moving faster, and before I could interject, a shadow shot out, striking the music box. "No!" I screamed, losing my focus. The light flickered, dimming just enough for the shadows to begin creeping closer. "Emma, concentrate!" Lily yelled, her voice filled with urgency. I locked my eyes back on the box, forcing aside the fear. In that moment, I remembered the stories my grandmother used to tell me about the power of belief. The old tales were always about battling shadows, but they always came down to love and unity. I thought of Lily, of how we had shared dreams and fears. I focused on that bond and let it fuel me. "We are stronger together," I said as I reached for her. "Together!" She grasped my hand tightly, and we channeled everything, hope, memories, laughter, into our connection. The music transformed, diving into a melody that intertwined with our emotions, knitting us more closely together. The shadows hesitated, almost recoiling, as if our combined energy hurt them. "You are foolish! Your bond means nothing!" they screeched, but I could hear the cracks in their voices. Suddenly, another shadow lunged at us from the left, a massive tendril reaching for Lily. I gasped. It was as if the darkness knew our vulnerability. "Watch out!" I shouted, breaking the connection we had forged, my instincts taking over. I swung my arm out, ready to shield her. But just before it struck, the soldier jumped in front of us. "Defend your light!" it shouted as it clashed against the shadow, creating an explosion of colors, dark versus light. The force sent shockwaves over the garden. The music swelled, pulsing like a living heartbeat beneath the chaos. Then, everything went still as we both stood frozen, watching the soldier stand its ground. It turned back to us, urging, "Channel your truth, together!" My heart raced as a new realization washed over me. Maybe the truth wasn't just about what we had to fight, but how we faced it. But before I could voice my thoughts, I felt a cold touch at my back. A new threat was approaching. I turned slowly, and there, beyond the shadows, a figure emerged from the gloom. Suddenly, the air felt thick with dread. "Who are you?" I croaked, fingers trembling. As the haunting silhouette stepped forward, the realization hit me like ice water. This was something else entirely. And I had to find out what it wanted before it was too late. The figure stepped closer, its form shifting and swirling like smoke. I blinked, trying to grasp what I was seeing. It resembled a shadow, but it was different, more defined, almost tangible, cloaked in malevolence. "Do you truly think you can free them?" the figure taunted, voice echoing with a deep resonance that sent chills down my spine. I clutched the toy soldier tighter, glancing at Lily, whose eyes were wide with trepidation. "What do you want?" I stammered, struggling to maintain focus amidst the overwhelming dread clawing at my throat. "What do I want?" it hissed, the darkness swirling violently around it. "I want their despair, their suffering, their very souls." The figure extended a shadowy limb, dark tendrils slithering toward us. "And you're going to deliver it to me." "No," I shouted, instinctively stepping in front of Lily. "You can't take them. They deserve to be free." The shadows growled, pulsing angrily. "You are foolish, child. Their freedom comes at a price you cannot pay." "Then we won't pay it," Lily shouted defiantly, her voice resolute amid the dark chaos. "We're not afraid of you. We're here to help them." With that, I felt a surge of energy coursing through me again, igniting my heart with the warmth of our purpose. I locked eyes with Lily, our thoughts aligning. "Together," I whispered. The shadows recoiled, sensing our unity. In that moment, I realized our bond wasn't just the key, it was the weapon we needed. I raised my free hand toward the figure, channeling every ounce of determination. "You are wrong. Love is stronger than despair." The soldier joined us, its form solidifying as it stood with unwavering courage. It nodded, eyes blazing. "Together, we will defy the darkness." As we shouted in unison, the light within the music box surged, illuminating everything around us. The shadows roared, a cacophony of rage and despair as their tendrils flinched away from the brilliance. The figure shrieked, "No! You cannot take them from me!" But we wouldn't back down. I focused on the warmth growing in my chest, weaving it into the light growing around us. "We're here! We will fight for them!" With every word, the shadows faltered, and the glowing soldier stood proudly as a beacon against the encroaching darkness. An ethereal wind whipped through the garden, swirling around me as I concentrated on the light. "We release you!" I shouted to the trapped souls, the children held captive here. "Come into the light!" The melody from the music box grew into a triumphant symphony, bathing the entire garden in a welcoming glow. The children's faces appeared around us, flickering like fireflies, their laughter merging with our voices. As we channeled our strength, I felt the shadows begin to unravel. They surged forward, attempting to reclaim their hold, but the light blazed brighter, filling every crevice with truth. "We are stronger together!" I cried, feeling the weight of our bond protect us against the onslaught. The figure howled, the sound tearing through the air as dark tendrils shrunk back in despair.
"You have no idea the darkness you awaken by defying me," it screamed, its form twisting in agony. In that moment, the shadows imploded, drawn into the light as the children's joyful spirits merged with them. I felt a surge of relief and joy as their laughter echoed harmoniously, brighter than any darkness. Then, just as I thought we had succeeded, the air grew heavy. Darkness clawed at the edges of our sanctuary, warping the cheerful sounds. "This isn't over," the figure snarled, retreating back into the shadows. I stumbled, the void pulling me toward it. A sense of unease washed over me as the ghostly echoes lingered in the air. "Will we ever be free of it?" I uttered softly, glancing at Lily, who wore an expression of both victory and uncertainty. "We have to stay strong," she whispered, determination flickering in her gaze. "But we also need to remember, this battle was just one fight in a larger war." With that, I understood. The night might not be over, and the shadows may return. But for now, we had won a crucial moment, a moment to breathe, to recover, to prepare. As we stepped away from the garden, a lingering chill brushed the back of my neck, the space between the light still trembling with the unknown. I knew I would never walk through that hospital the same way again. Even as the whispers faded into the night, I couldn't shake the feeling that the true darkness was still watching us, waiting for the right moment to strike again. The shadows were cast aside, but their whispers would forever echo in my mind. That's when I realized this was just the beginning. I moved to a different city after that. Sometimes I wonder if those echoes still inhabit that lonely hospital. I try not to think about it, but I can't forget the laughter that turned to cries, or the shadows that waited just beyond the light.